Welcome to Gold Derby. I am Senior Editor Marcus James Dixon, and we are here with Tom Broecker, costume designer and producer on Saturday Night Live. Tom, when you look back at season 48 as a whole, what moment or what sketch are you the most proud of?
Um, that's a really hard question because I'll try and answer it twofold, or just sort of like, um, I feel like every week is is like a challenge, and so getting the show up and going and having it be done is always a proud sort of a proud thing or a proud moment. But I guess ultimately, I was trying to think about this uh, just from a technicality standpoint. On the who was the host? Oh, Aubrey Plaza, I believe, was the host. So we did this Avatar sketch, and as you might imagine, avatars are blue, head to toe blue. And so that was going to be a crazy feat in a quick change to figure out how to make people blue in 3 minutes and then make them unblue in 3 minutes for just sort of like make sure that that sketch could go anywhere and make sure everyone could be. So it took about a day to technically figure out how that ultimately could happen. This whole idea was initially based upon some weird technical thing that happened last year on another show, that somehow someone just flipped a switch in the control room and all of a sudden everyone turned blue. So everyone was like, "Oh, it's easy to do. You just like turn a switch in the control room, and everything happens and goes blue." And so initially, we were like, "Oh, that's great, perfect." But then after talking to the people in the control room and the people who controlled all of those switches, they were like, "No, that was some weird fluke that no one in this building knows how that happened." So now we actually had to really figure out how to make these people blue at the, literally at a switch. So it, and then it took a whole, so then we finally figured out if we make everyone orange and then turn the lights to be a certain thing. And so it became this jigsaw puzzle of like, and so we were looking at the Avatar movie and all that sort of stuff, and looking at all the details that Deborah Landis, did with, the necklaces and the pieces that were covering crotches and all that sort of stuff, and having to mentally flip the colors so that when we actually put the lights and the switch on, everything then would be the right color. So like if you look at the end of that sketch, so you're looking at it and everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's so great." They were all in orange leotard, all orange unitards and all that sort of stuff. And you're like, wow, the painting. So even, it also was another thing of like, yeah, how do you get in 3 minutes the even quality of, those avatars are beautifully AI'd rendered. And so the skin tones and everything are so beautiful, but you can't do that in 3 minutes. So everyone was in an orange unitard, which allowed that to sort of make that happen. And so you're watching the sketch going, wow, this is really great. Look at everything. And then we do a trick at the very end where we flip the switch and we see, and all of a sudden at the end of the sketch, they pull back and you're like, oh my God, they had to reverse everything. Like it was a crazy, weird mental, like in order for it to read blue, it had to be orange. In order for it to be, if it had green in it, then that green had to be yellow. If so like you had to look, we had these giant color wheels, and that had to do this sort of weird sort of like, wait, if it needs to be this color when we're looking at it, then we have to switch to that color.
Well, I can't wait to go back and watch that sketch now, knowing all of these secret insider tips that you guys had to do. And the good news is there's going to be what, 4 more Avatar movies over the next decade.
I
So
know.
what you learned this time, you can put forward next time.
Exactly. It was like and it was a crazy, like it truly was a crazy, weird learning curve in terms of like it was one of those, like we did a big, R&D, spent an entire day just sort of gathering everything, and then we did a whole, and then we were able to, once we sort of worked out the big chunks of it. So yeah, so we're prepared now to move forward for the next 4 movies.
And something I've wanted to know for years and years is when a host comes out to give their monologue, are they wearing something that they chose specifically, or do they work with you guys in the costume department to come up with something classy and nice?
Yeah, so it's sort of a combo platter of a lot of different things, and it depends on who the person is and our relationship with them, or if we have a relationship with them, or any of that sort of stuff. And so a lot of times we pick it out, and we sort of it sort of is, we try and make it as close to what would be represent them and all that sort of stuff. Sometimes they're on a press junket, so they travel with a stylist, and so the stylist has picked it out. And if it's that case, usually what happens in that sort of way is, like I'll do all the photos, and then the stylist will do the monologue, or because it turns out to be a lot of clothes for one person sometimes to get, and sometimes they don't have a stylist, but they have something that they want to wear that they, I guess they've been dreaming of being on SNL. So 5 years ago, they found their favorite whatever. And so now they want to wear that. And, and so sometimes we have to get them out of that, sometimes into something else, or, and sometimes the outfit is picked before they know what the monologue is even going to be. And all of a sudden, the monologue might turn into a big song and dance number, so that all the clothes have to rip off. At which point we sort of change what they thought that they might want to wear into something. It's sort of, we work very closely with their team into what it is and that sort of stuff. And I feel like most of the stylists anymore I know and have come to know from different jobs and all that sort of stuff. So they come and we have fun, and so it's sort of a combo platter.
Mm-hmm. One of the most viral moments from the season was Lisa from Temecula starring the hilarious Ego Wodo. And what can you tell us about her look? She's wearing the pink top and these big glasses.
Yeah, that was it's a fuchsia sweater, V-neck, turtleneck, what can you, and with pearls on it. So, it's saying a lot of different things, plus a pair of leather pants, and, then these big crazy glasses, and the hair says a lot, that sort of growing out, almost burnt orange, but, kind of thing. Ego had a lot of sort of ideas, just sort of in terms of what about this idea, and and so it'd be like, maybe she should be in glasses. Maybe this is what her hair should look like. I feel like fuchsia, just as a color, and so it just, I guess, sort of snowballed from that kind of thing. It was more of, who is this person, and what is the relationship, because she's Punky's sister, and so it sort of was like, okay, well, and she's a lawyer, go figure. So she's she's a lawyer who is at dinner, who doesn't really fit in, and you wanted to make sure that she was the person who was standing out. So that was another reason to, with the fuchsia. I mean, ultimately, so after that sketch hit, and went viral and all that sort of stuff, we literally the next week went and bought sort of 10 more sweaters just in case, because we didn't want them to disappear. We weren't sure if we were ever going to do it again or any of that sort of stuff. So we ultimately went and bought some more just in case, because also the first one took place at a dining table at a restaurant, and so things were flying all over the place, and so we weren't quite sure if that was going to be the constant, whether it was always going to be at a table or not, whatever. So we didn't want to also end up having a sweater that was completely doused in oil, or somehow through the magic of the table moving up and down and all that sort of stuff. Watching a giant vat of oil spill all over her would not have been a fun thing to try and figure out how to get more sweaters if there was only one.
Another sketch I wanted to highlight in terms of costumes was when Molly Shannon returned. She put on the red jumpsuit as Sally O'Malley.
Yes.
I fell off the couch. I was so happy to see her back. But then the three Jonas Brothers come out, also wearing the exact same outfits. Were the guys fully on board to look?
Yes, they were. They were 100%, because we wouldn't have. That was the only way that sketch was, not the only way, but that was truly the only real way that sketch was going to work. That if they came out and did their dressed as her. So I don't think there was ever any. There was never any pushback. There was never anything. I was like, okay, so are you guys really in? Are you guys up for it? And they were like, yeah. There's no point if we're not gonna be in the red jumpsuits, then let's not do the sketch. So we ended up making 3 jumpsuits for them based upon Sally's.
And SNL has had so many Donald Trumps through the years, including Daryl Hammond and Alec Baldwin. But when James Austin Johnson puts on the suit with the red tie, he wins. There's no one better than him. What does James bring to this performance?
James, the thing about James is he brings this sort of, I think it's the vocal quality, and it's this vocal quality of this person who is meandering, and it's sort of I will say not the puffed up chest, I'm the Donald Trump kind of person, but the Donald Trump a little rung down, because he just sort of, he can, the way James does that voice and the sort of constant, and it's almost as if it's on a loop, and the way James can just sort of then weirdly pivot the way Donald Trump, I feel like Donald Trump's mind's a little fractured, in that way of he just sort of says these bullet points constantly, and they don't necessarily all add up into a cohesive. And so there's a very strong stream of consciousness involved in that. And so James has, I think James has brought that kind of easy mannered stream of consciousness to Trump.
He's so great. The Emmy ballots are out now, and I'm hoping people that are Emmy voters pay attention to some of these performances on the show, because what they're doing is just exceptional work week in and week out.
Yeah.
As someone in the costume department, how close do you work with people in, let's say, makeup and hair and all of the other areas? I imagine there's this huge community backstage where everyone's always collaborating with each other.
Oh yeah. It's you can't really have, James can't really do Trump without the bat pad or without the prosthetics and all that sort of stuff. And James has been losing some weight throughout the year, and so then all of a sudden we had to start adjusting. I would talk to the makeup guy once we would see it in dresser, and I was like, wait, what's happening? He doesn't look the same as he did last week. And he said, well, his face is changing a little bit, so we have to be like, okay, well, let's figure out how to get him back, his face, back to what it was a couple of weeks ago, because James's face is losing weight, but Donald Trump's face is losing weight. So the way in which all that sort of fits, and the hair and it all, you can't really, it's what was I going to say? It's I don't want to say it's a collective whole. You can't, you take the wig off, there's no Trump. You take the prosthetics off, there's no Trump. You take the suit away, maybe, but it's the thing with particularly with these characters and creating characters on SNL, it really is about the totality of the hair, the makeup, and the costume. You know,
Mm.
it's very much a cohesive unit that we look at as these things.
There's a costume from a few years back that really stuck with people. And I see people dressed up as him for Halloween every year. It's David S. Pumpkins, Tom
Uh,
Hanks. Did you have any idea this character would explode?
no,
And
no,
no.
no, not at all. And that's the thing. I think you don't really, truly ever know what is really gonna explode, or what is gonna hit, or you can kind of at the table you're sort of, oh, it's funny, it's laughing or whatever, and then during rehearsal, and sometimes things bomb, like at dress rehearsal. Lisa from Temecula wasn't there were some issues during dress rehearsal. There were some, like, and so they had to fix some things between dress and air to make that sort of really do what it was supposed to do, and make it funny the way it had been funny 2 days previously, and so you're never really sure. And David S. Pumpkin certainly was not something on my radar anyway, and that sort of was be like, oh, that's going to be something. And it's funny because we bought that suit. We didn't make that suit, so that was one of those things we just sort of bought, and now the manufacturers have made it the David S. Pumpkin suit, as opposed to just like it was just a Halloween suit originally, but now it's the David S. Pumpkins Halloween suit.
I love it. I want
Yeah.
to get one for for next Halloween. We love
You better
talking.
hurry, because like it is crazy sometimes, like how those things sell out so fast and so quickly, and
Mhm.
so order it now.
We love talking about Emmy Awards here at Gold Derby, and you've won some Emmys through the years for Best Sketch Series and for Best Costumes. And
Mhm.
do you have any fun moments from any of those ceremonies that you can share with us? Anything that happened, backstage?
Well, they are. I mean, for me anyway, they're completely nerve-wracking. They are so anxious provoking. It's like, at least for me, it's that weird sort of thing of all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, I have to talk in front of all these people. What?
Mm.
That sort of anxiety is very crazy.
Mm.
And so that anticipation and that sort of and in my category, it's sort of weird, because sometimes it's a juried award, and sometimes it's a ballot award, and I think this year it's back to being a juried award, and so it sort of both takes some of the I don't want to say joy away, that nominate, hearing the nominations and all that sort of stuff is always like thrilling, and that kind of stuff. But when the jury calls and sort of be like, hey, you've won your award, it sort of makes going then to the ceremony a little easier.
Mm.
And you can, that you really do have to have your speech ready and prepared, because it's actually going to you really have to do it.
Mm. Well, thank you so much for chatting with us today, and best of luck at the upcoming Emmy
Thank
Awards.
you.
And I can't wait for next season. I really want to see Jennifer Coolidge, because she was supposed to be,
Yeah,
finale, I think.
yeah,
And
yeah,
once the writer strikes over, she is my dream host to see.
I think she's a dream host for a lot of people. She would be like, it would be amazing to see her do her thing. She's such a funny person.
Mhm.
um, and so fingers crossed.
Thanks a lot, Tom.
Yeah. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.